Hi beautiful souls, it's Tad here today with another very interesting astrology video, because today we're going to be looking at indicators in your natal chart that you might be famous or have the potential to be famous. So I kind of spent the weekend just kind of going through a collection of famous people's, natal charts, including, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, to like Beyonce and Meryl Streep. A lot of charts, shall we say, over 50 of them, to kind of decipher certain patterns that keep reoccurring within these, famous people's charts, and compiling them together in this video for you guys. So by famous, we're talking about someone who is known by a lot of people, even though people may not have made any kind of personal association or never really met these people in person, but still know these people. That's the first category for, the word famous. Now, the thing about fame is that it can occur within, you can be famous in your country, in your town, in the world, in a community, right? So the idea here is that if you are sort of known by, let's say, 5% of the people in a large population, that can be considered famous, whereas opposed to if you belong to a smaller community, then you should be known by, something like around 50% of the people there. Otherwise, you're not going to really be considered famous. If you are making some kind of contribution in a large group of people, let's say there's 180 million people that you are, trying to influence, and only 5% of them know you. That's around 9 million people. Like, that would be considered famous. You see what I mean? Whereas opposed to, let's say that you are doing something within a community of, let's say, 100 people, I would think that you need to be known by at least, 70% of the people there, or at least 70 people, or maybe everyone there, to be considered famous in that particular group. So it varies, the numbers kind of varies there. And the other thing we want to consider, before I actually move on and tell you the indicators in your natal chart, is to look at different types of fame. So the first type of fame we can have is fame by talent or skill. So basically by achievement, like singers, athletes, musicians, sometimes even scientists, right? So this in a natal chart is mainly going to be indicated by the 5th house, the 3rd house, or the 12th house. And especially when it comes to the 12th house, this would show more of being an icon with regards to your talent or skills. So there's something to keep in mind there, meaning that, even after you're gone, or maybe people don't really know you, but when they think of somebody who does this, they think of you because you've become the icon of that particular thing. The second type of fame is fame by contribution. And this can mean maybe you write a book or you invent something else, and this can sometimes be linked to the first type of fame, but it may not be. So this is indicated by the 11th house in a natal chart, the 10th house, and sometimes even the 6th house, which is the house of your service and work. The third type of fame we're talking about is fame through technology. So this can mean that you do something on the internet and it goes viral, or you're mainly just famous in the internet world, or in the world of the internet. This can also maybe include fame by chance as well, because that's how you get famous on the internet. Is you do something silly, somebody posts it on the internet, you become famous. The next type of fame is fame by association, meaning that you know somebody who is famous, somebody who gets you this promotion, who gets you this position, who gives you this opportunity, and then you become famous. So this is indicated in a natal chart by, of course, the 11th house as well as the 7th house, which even the 7th house can even be fame by marriage, or because you personally just really closely know somebody who is famous or can get you that type of fame. And the last type of fame is fame by election or appointment. So this means that you are, going to have to initially be working in the public sector, and through that, you get appointed. So this is mainly indicated by the 10th and the 11th house. Okay, so now let's get to it. 10 signs that you may have fame in this life. Now you're going to need to be looking for at least 4 or 5, to have 4 or 5 of these indicators in your chart. The more you have, the more likely the chance. Just having one of these signs does not necessarily, may not really point to that. So the first thing that I've noticed for a very common sign of somebody who becomes famous is when they have a stellium of planets in 2 to 3 consecutive houses. So this is not necessarily a stellium of planet in one house, and also not really in one sign, but in 2 to 3 consecutive signs and house. Especially if the stellium occurs in the upper left part of the natal chart, or the mid left part of the natal chart. So by stellium, we're talking about multiple planets, so 4 or 5 planets. So this can look like, for example, maybe you have 1 planet in the 11th house, 2 planets in the 12th house, 3 planets in the 1st house, 1 planet in the 2nd house. Now you've got this alignment of several planets in consecutive houses. Or maybe it looks like, 1 planet in the 9th house, 3 in the 10th house, 4 in the 11th house. Something like that. This can be seen, in the charts of Donald Trump, Meryl Streep, Beyonce. I think even Ellen has a similar kind of alignment. And I think that the reason why this leads to fame is because that particular person is most likely to have a bunch of their energies being put into an area of life that has to do with the public sector. And especially in the 1st house, you would not think so, but I think that having a lot of planets in your 1st house really sort of makes you an independent person, meaning that you're going to kind of be very much absorbed in your own success. And if that's coupled with planets in the 10th or 11th house, then that's going to really make you someone who is independent and maybe focuses a lot on your personal goals and reputation. And if you really think about it, the 1st house is ruled by Aries, the 11th house is ruled by Aquarius, and the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn. So if you have planets sort of around that sector, these 3 signs that rules these 3 houses are very ambitious, and they just do things their own way. I've also noticed that if you have this kind of stellium in consecutive houses, and the houses happens to be somewhere along the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, so the other side of the chart, that can also lead to fame, but that's not a lot of people that have that. But Barack Obama definitely has something along that line, as well as Muhammad Ali. And I think that the reason for that is that the 6th house is the house of your work, and the 7th house is the public house. So it could mean somebody who devotes a large part of their life to having a job which serves the public, and that can lead them to fame. But I think it's very common when we see a combo. So meaning that we've got, let's say we've got, planets in, let's say 11, 12, 1st, 2nd house, but then we have like 2 more planets or 3 more planets in the 6th house, or 2 or 3 more planets in the 7th, or 2 or 3 more planets in the 8th. Something like that. That is a very common combination. So something very interesting that I've noticed with famous people there. So the second sign that you can look for in your natal chart that might point to fame is if you have a sun or a moon in the 1st house or the 11th house. These 2 houses of either sun or moon, especially the moon, really lead someone to fame. And I think that, with the 11th house, I think that has a lot to do with popularity. Like you would just naturally come across as someone who is non-judgmental, easy to approach. You're comfortable with being around a group of people. But you know, the 11th house also symbolizes your hopes and your dreams and your wishes in life. And if you have the sun or the moon there, then you've got a large chunk of your energy devoted to that. Now, the first house is interesting because I did not expect that. But especially, you know, sun or the moon in the first house, I think that if it's the, you know, if it's the sun, it makes them easier, it makes it easier for them to express themselves, makes them very much focused on themselves and what they want to achieve. And the moon there, I think, puts someone's emotional drives in a position where they're very much at their pursuit of their own independence and ambitions in life. So I think that's very interesting there. Of course, you know, I've also noticed Sun or Moon in the 10th house as being, you know, in the charts of a lot of famous people, but it's not as apparent as in the 11th or the first house. The next sign that you can look for in your natal chart to indicate fame is when you have at least, and better if it's more than, 4 planets aspecting your midheaven. And it doesn't really matter which planet or which aspect it is, but the more, the better for fame. And I think that when you have more of the easy or soft aspects of planets to the midheaven, meaning, you know, the trines or the sextiles, I think even the conjunction in this case, you know, makes it easier. This can kind of naturally just makes that planet express itself at the public, the midheaven level, in a way that is more comfortable for the natal chart holder and gives them a reputation that is clear to the people that is watching this person. It will be clear to the public that, okay, this person has this particular reputation with regards to the planets. With the harder aspects, you know, especially the opposition and the square and sometimes the inconjunction, the planet is still going to be expressed on the midheaven, oh, very much so. But, you know, with the opposition, it can come out as a bit of an extreme, meaning that the public is going to see this person as overdoing that planet. The square, the public is going to see this person as being uncomfortable with expressing this planet, but they're still doing it anyways, until the natal chart holder themselves gets in touch with how to work through that square or that opposition in their own natal chart, and then it becomes something very powerful up there in the public world on the midheaven. The most common planets that I see within the charts of famous people that aspects the midheaven is Uranus, the Moon, and Mercury. And Neptune as well. Mercury and Neptune are equally aspecting the midheaven. I would think that it would be Jupiter, as a lot of us would think, but it's not. And I think that Uranus, you know, and the Moon being aspect to the midheaven, you know, I think that this can make the person, especially within this day and age, you know, in the age of Aquarius that we are in now, makes them naturally seem like someone who is different. You know, if you could really express the deconditioned part of your moon, you're going to be very different, as well as Uranus. So I think that having those two aspects in the midheaven makes it somebody, you know, becomes famous, not because of something ordinary they did, but because they've really contributed something different to the world. And with Neptune, of course, that naturally puts your public image, the midheaven, as having a bit of a glamour vibe. And other people are able to see what they hope to see with you, whether you really, you know, have that character within you or not. So it's a bit of a projection there. And with Mercury, I think that just makes, you know, communication easy. And communication has a lot of influence, right? If you want to be, you know, a famous person, you have to be able to not just network with people, definitely network with different people, but also be able to have your words impact people, have your ideas impact people in the public, and get very busy. Mercury is a very busy planet. The next sign that I've noticed that you can check in your chart to see if you may be famous is when you have Neptune either in the first house or aspecting the ascendant. And I think that this is a no-brainer because Neptune naturally gives the person a glamour vibe. And they naturally, is able to make the public see this person, like we said, the aspect of projection. So they can see this person as anything that feeds their desires and needs. So let's say at that particular moment, they're really hoping to, look up someone on the internet who can make them feel fun. And they come across somebody with Neptune aspect of the ascendant or Neptune in the first house. And whether the Neptune person is really, that famous person is really trying to be fun or not, they can appear that way. So the public has the ability to feel whatever they want to feel when they are looking or consuming the work of the Neptune ascendant person. So any aspect from Neptune to the ascendant will create this kind of an energy. Now, the fifth sign that I've noticed with famous people is if you have the ruler of your midheaven or the ruler of your 10th house in the 2nd or the 8th house. So I'm going to quickly go over planetary rulership right now so that if you want to find out which house the ruler of your midheaven is placed, you can do it right now. So if you have Aries on your midheaven, or the 10th house, it's going to be Mars. If you have Taurus up there, it's going to be Venus. If you have Gemini up there, it's going to be Mercury. If you have Cancer up there, it's going to be the Moon. If you have Leo up there, it's going to be the Sun. If you have Virgo up there, it's going to be Mercury. If you have Libra up there, it's going to be Venus. If you have Scorpio up there, it's going to be Pluto or Mars. You can check both. If you've got Sagittarius up there, it's going to be Jupiter. If you've got Capricorn up there, it's going to be Saturn. If you've got Aquarius up there, it's going to be Uranus as well as Saturn. You can check both. If you've got Pisces up there, it's going to be Neptune as well as Jupiter. You can check both. If you have the ruler of your midheaven in the 2nd or the 8th house, I think that just naturally brings wealth. This is very common in famous people when you're looking at the rulers of their midheaven in the 10th house, to have it in these two houses. And if you really think about it, when you get famous, you're likely to be making money most of the time, unless you're really doing something very charitable and you're not getting money or wealth in that sense. And if you think about it, sometimes people who are rich are just naturally famous without really having to do anything. So I think there's a link there, as well as the 2nd house being the house of what you value. And I think that when you put your calling in life, which is the midheaven, your public image, in the house of values, that's naturally going to make you someone who's going to value finding the right calling for yourself, value working for the public, and value making a contribution. The 6th sign that you can check for to see if you're going to be famous if you have the ruler of the 11th house in the 1st house or in the 10th house. This is very common in the charts of famous people. And I really think that the 11th house, because it rules, an incoming gain, as well as your hopes and your dreams, your wishes in life, and your social, your social networking groups. When you put that in the 1st house, it brings the gains and the hopes, wishes for your life to you, to the ascendant, to your journey in life. And because of that, these people are naturally self-made, and they put a lot of effort into what they want to accomplish. As much as you being able to draw the group to you, yourself. When the ruler of the 11th house is in the 10th house, this naturally is, you're able to get incoming gains from a promotion, your career, maybe even in the political arena, as well as having your networking circles bring you some kind of promotion, or sort of the people that you work with, the organizations putting you up in the political arena and promoting you, and then you get fame through that. The 7th sign that you might be famous is if you have a grand trine or a T-square or a combination of both in your natal chart. And I've noticed especially these two configurations keep coming up in the charts of famous people. So a grand trine will look in your chart like a triangle, a blue triangle between, and they should be within the right signs. And they can be between any planets, or maybe it's a point in your chart, especially the ascendant or the midheaven. And then the planets are in the same element. Sorry, did I say sign? Same element. So it could be a grand water trine, a grand earth trine, a grand fire trine. A T-square will look like a red triangle in your chart. And it will be between 3 planets or points of the same modality. So it could be a fixed T-square, a mutable T-square, or a cardinal T-square. So for example, if it's a fixed T-square, that it might be between, planets in Aries, planets in Libra, and planets in Capricorn. And then you'll have one planet missing, which is Cancer in that case. And for the grand trine, it could be, planets in Cancer, planet in Scorpio, planets in Pisces. That's a water grand trine, something like that. The grand trine itself just means the person has some kind of a gift that when they activate it, and I think that, a lot of people do activate their gifts, maybe it's later on in their lives, but they eventually get to it, that, becomes a talent that is seen by the world. And with the T-square, I think that the person really has to push themselves really hard to solve the certain difficulties in their lives, that they make that an asset, and they sort of have this drive to accomplish something after having to work through certain struggles in life. The 8th sign that I've noticed for famous people, and you can check to see if you have this, is it's very common to have mutable signs ruling your angles, and especially Gemini midheaven. But it doesn't necessarily have to be Gemini in the midheaven. That's not really a noticeable pattern, but a combination of mutable signs on your angles. So like a Gemini midheaven, which means you're going to naturally have a Sagittarius IC, and then like a Virgo ascendant, and then a Pisces descendant. That kind of a combo, I see those in a lot in the charts of famous people, and I think that's because, well, let's say you have Virgo or Gemini on your midheaven. That's going to naturally make it very easy for you to be busy. These 2 signs are ruled by Mercury, that's very busy. But I also think that it makes communication very easy, and when you can communicate very well, you're very liked by the public, whether that's, actual speaking, or you're writing, or you're doing research, whatever that might be. And with Sagittarius or Pisces, both of these are sort of ruled by Jupiter, as well as Pisces also rules Neptune. And I think that just kind of makes it easy for you to immediately have a glamour type of a vibe to you, and you kind of, Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And if you have, Jupiter ruling your midheaven, then you're gonna really want to do whatever you can to achieve your calling in life. So something I've noticed there. The 9th sign that you might want to incorporate when you're checking to see if you could be famous is through transits. So you can check to see if you have transits. Transits are planets that are currently moving in the sky right now, not at your natal chart, not when you were born, but in the present day. So I've noticed, I think that if you have transits of outer planets, meaning Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, if those outer planets are somehow making aspects to your inner planets, and especially if those outer planets are transiting the upper half of your natal chart, and they're aspecting your personal planets in some ways, because that would mean that, first of all, the focus for that particular area of your life, whether that be 5 years to 10 years, is going to be very much focused on the outside world, on the public world. But at the same time, it's activating your personal self. It's activating who you are, with regards to your inner planets. So you're sort of going through a certain amount of energetic transformation, energetic push that pushes you to achieve in the world. And the last sign that could lead to fame is when you check your progressed chart So this coupled with the transits, coupled with the natal chart, if in your progressed chart you also have something along the lines of, you know, the sun, the progressed sun coming to conjunct Jupiter, very good sign that you're going to be popular and you're going to want to, you know, explore the world, explore your possibilities, explore your life path, which is the sun. And if you have sort of, you know, the progressed moon, you know, going into like the 10th house or the 11th house, that's a really good indicator that year that, you know, you're very much comfortable with making contributions to the public in one way or another. But I think that, you know, the progressed chart itself, there's a lot to look for there, and I think it may require a whole video on its own, but if you are already familiar with the progressions and transits, then definitely look up those with regards to your own natal chart as well. So guys, that's my top 10 indicators of fame. How many of these do you have, and what do you have in your natal chart? Comment below and let us know if you have the potential to be famous in this life. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, synastry, relationship readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And that's it. Have a beautiful day, beautiful souls. Bye.